This is what I looked like working 14, sometimes 18-hour days. I didn't always have time to get a full workout in or eat my perfect little meal preps. But with planning and proper prioritization, I was able to do 80% of the work most of the time. I had to build systems that made staying consistent inevitable, so my busy life didn't derail me from achieving my goals. So in this video, I'm gonna share my sauce, all my little secrets, the 7 habits I followed to build a six-pack while also building my career. Because ain't nobody got time to spend all day at the gym. Which brings me to the first habit. I was religious with my morning routine. I used to never do any morning routine. I would wake up at about 3:45, hop on my phone, respond to a bunch of messages, check my email, scramble to get all my shit together for work. And then I would go work the longest day ever, come home, be exhausted, try to put my gym clothes on. Sometimes I would make it, sometimes I wouldn't. This all changed when I started doing a morning routine. Not only did I feel way better throughout the day, my stress was lower, my cortisol was lower, but I executed more things by making my mornings very intentional. So here's what I did. Instead of starting the morning by trying to accomplish all the little shit that I can think of in my mind, I start the morning and I don't even look at my phone. This is beneficial for a few reasons. Number one, you start to place yourself, your priorities, your thoughts over everyone else's demands, desires, and needs. When you check your phone first thing in the morning, you say to yourself, you are not important. Everyone else's needs and desires are more important than whatever you want today. I stopped doing that. Instead, I started going for a 15-minute hawk or walk at the beginning of the day. I listen to motivation. It's like the only time I use my phone. You can save YouTube links to a little note. And so I just click on it, then I'm ready to go. And I download these positive affirmations. You can do it. You're strong. You're a bad bitch. Like, you work so hard. You're amazing. And that's what works for me. If you want something else, amazing, do that. But that walk does more than just hype me up. It also acts as EMDR. When you walk outside, your nervous system regulates. EMDR is a practice used in a lot of therapy. So if you have trauma, if you have a lot of stress, this is a great way to immediately prime yourself for success for the day. So I do my hawker walk, then I go straight into meditation. I used to fucking hate meditation. I actually just committed to doing 1 minute a day, and I did 1 minute every single day for 6 months. I hated it the whole time. And I was really bad at it, actually. I just sat there just like, oh my God, when is this gonna end? And thoughts would race. But learning and practicing how to control my thoughts was crucial. Just like training your biceps, you can train your mind. And if you cannot control your thoughts, you cannot control your life. So by learning how to control my thoughts, I absolutely changed my life. And throughout the day, I felt better about myself, about other people, about the things I needed to do, because I was very intentional with the frame and the perspective that I was bringing to those tasks. Then I would watch my vision video, which was a 1 to 2 minute video that I would create every 3 to 6 months, detailing I'm grateful for. And these things would not exist yet, but they were things that I wanted. So at the time that I started doing this, I was actually experiencing 5 to 6 panic attacks a day. I had just been sexually assaulted and I was miserable. I was depressed. I was in a really low place. And so in my morning routine, I was just like, I am peaceful. I am calm. And it was something that I hadn't experienced yet. I was leaving the military and I was starting my online fitness coaching company for the first time and had like 10 at the time. And by doing this every single day, I intentionally brought myself closer to who I wanted to be by telling myself I was already that person. And it allowed for a quicker identity shift than I would have if I wasn't really marinating in that every single day. So if you want to create a vision video for yourself, take 30 minutes to really dream about who you are, what you want. What do you want to look like? What do you want to feel like? Who do you want to share your life with? Friends, relationships, how do you want to be treated in those? Put it all down on paper. And then you can put it into chat if you want to have a really flowing, sexy script to just read to yourself, or you can just take out your phone. I am this. I have this. I'm so grateful for this. It's super simple and it kind of feels silly while you're doing it, but this is absolutely necessary and game changing, because I would bet money you haven't set aside time in the past 6 months to really evaluate what you even want. You are being reactive rather than proactive about your life. And the more you can be intentional about thinking, what really makes me happy and fulfilled, the more you can set your life up so that you can achieve those things. If you're anything like me, a hardcore recovering people pleaser, you tend to put yourself last. Your needs, your health, whatever you want. And this, at the start of every day, forces you to marinate and think about what you want independent of everyone else around you. I am the biggest advocate for women putting themselves first and determining what you want to get out of life before what everyone else wants. Because the reality is, when you place other people's needs and desires before your own, it doesn't actually help them. What it does is it breaks down trust between you and that person, because rather than standing on business, being your own person, you are a sponge of whoever you think that they want you to be. Because the reality of life is no one wants to be around someone who changes their personality or has no boundaries. It's not attractive. And you build up resentment for that person by doing what they want you to do all the time. Only you are creating this narrative that someone will be mad at you if you don't do all the things that they want you to do. Helping people move. How many people have you helped move this year? No one wants to help people move. That should be reserved for the inner circle, okay? If you get asked to help people move more than once a year, honestly, you're probably a people pleaser, and they know that you're gonna drop everything, drop your priorities, your life, your goals to help them do a menial task that they could hire out. And there's a big difference between being a shitty friend and being a people pleaser, but it just all starts with your own boundaries, priorities, and communication. And that's what this morning routine will help to implement in you. The next step, which is crucial and probably the most important part of this morning routine, is living or dying by your calendar, because your calendar is a reflection of your priorities and your goals. So we have our hot girl walk to prime us. We have the meditation to chill us out. We have our vision video to elevate us. Now we're going to put all of that on paper, and we are going to actually start to execute the life that you desire. What does that look like? It looks like blocking in your morning routine. It looks like blocking in your bedtime. It looks like blocking in your preferred work periods. It looks like blocking in you time, blocking in gym time, blocking in time to meal prep. And the best part about the calendar, especially if you're a people pleaser, is that once you have this calendar and you choose to live or die by it, when people ask you to do some bullshit that doesn't align with your priorities, it's really easy to say no. In my calendar, I do have times to cultivate experiences with my friends. Nowhere in there does it say that I'm going to spend time doing things for people that don't really align with me. Because I'm so goal oriented and I have a lot that I want to accomplish with my life, there is very little free time. I have a gorgeous husband who I need to spend time with. He's in my calendar, and I have time for my friends, but the time for my friends is pretty small because of all the other things that I'm doing. So I'm very intentional about that time, and I don't waste it on people who don't really fill my cup. When you're busy, you have two choices. You can use your free time on people who don't care about you and don't really matter, and you're going to spend it on experiences that you don't actually value or fulfill you. Or you can spend that time with yourself, building your career, building meaningful relationships with people that you actually cherish, and building a healthy, fit body. And what you don't understand, and why you keep pushing fitness to the side, is that when you build yourself first, both your mental and physical health, everything else in life comes easier, it comes faster, it comes better. If you do not put your health first, if you do not prioritize your energy, both physically, mentally, you will inevitably break and hate your life. Because when you are not taking care of the vessel, it can't execute for you. Which leads me to my second habit. I went to bed hungry. You might be wondering, what? Kitty, I should never be hungry. I should be full and satiated. Okay, you're not in the wild. You do not need to be concerned about where your next meal is coming from, correct? Oftentimes, we like to shove food in our face at the end of a hard day because we didn't eat all day. The reason that you feel uncomfortable going to bed hungry is because you starved yourself throughout the day. You skipped breakfast, you chugged 2 cups of coffee while you were running into work, you had maybe a protein bar for lunch, if that. At 2 p.m., you realize, hey, I feel like shit. I'm super hungry. So you had a light snack. Then you went and you did the rest of your day. You're finally home and you're like, oh my God, I didn't eat all day. Let me eat it up right now. If you think that not eating in the morning is the best way to stave off your hunger so you can have reduced calorie intake, here's why that's not the most effective way to actually reduce your overall caloric intake. Number one, you're double spiking your cortisol when you have coffee on an empty stomach. Your cortisol naturally spikes in the morning when you wake, and that's great. That helps you get out of bed. That helps you start to function. When you dump caffeine into the mix, it releases a lot of glucose into the bloodstream, which causes your insulin to spike so that you can get rid of that excessive blood sugar. That causes a glucose dip that you would have really never had you not had this coffee on an empty stomach. One thing that's really big for managing cortisol levels in the morning is making sure that you have food prior to your caffeine intake. This is going to prevent you from feeling anxious and jittery all morning and then crashing later in the day. I used to do this, so I know know exactly how it feels to skip meals until lunch and be like, I'm so skinny, so hungry. And then you're pretty hungry at lunch, but you're like, no, I'm losing weight, it's fine. And then by the time you get home at the end of a really long day, you are searching for calorically dense foods because your body's hormones, leptin, which is your satiety hormone, ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, are ravenous. And this forces you to eat like crazy and you binge. Whether you think it's binging or not, if you save all your calories till the end of the day, odds are you're gonna opt for calorically dense foods. Whereas if you just added in a few high volume, low calorie foods throughout the day, you would feel full, you would feel satiated, your brain would work better, you would perform better at work, and you wouldn't have these intense cravings at night. I think that the best way to gauge whether or not you're gonna lose weight effectively is if you feel high energy throughout the day, and then when you go to bed, you don't feel starving, but you do feel empty. You don't ever need to feel full. Food should make you feel good and energized. That's the whole point of eating. When you want to be lean, you have to be hungry. You can't get around it. So what we're going to do is restructure our calories so that our energy calories are fueling us throughout the day for the events that we need energy for. You don't need energy to sleep. You don't need to be consuming all your calories at the end of the day. So why are you eating like that before bed? It's because you failed to prioritize making time to eat throughout the day so that you could feel really good and work and perform your best, which is kind of where the calendar planning comes into play. Make sure that you're planning 10 to 20 minutes so that you can get high quality nutrients in and stop opting for a shitty little protein bar that is not food, that is not lunch. This brings us to the third habit, which is that I stopped negotiating with the worst version of myself. You are not at your best when you're tired, hungry, you've had a long day, you've had a long week. So what we need to do is set up systems that makes it easier for you to succeed than it does to quit. We're bringing it back, live or die by the calendar. I actually have a 2-hour block every Monday where I reorganize and delineate all the things that I need to do for the entire week so that when I do my daily little to-do list, because inevitably, you're not going to get things done, and that's where we reallocate, reprioritize, and re-strategize the next day. Everything for the most part has a shell and it's all planned out. Stop grocery shopping. You do not need to grocery shop actually when it costs $7. In your calendar, you can either make time to meal prep and grocery shop, or what I do to make my life a little bit easier and buy my time back is I just have auto delivery set up on my grocery orders. This is incredible because ordering groceries online takes half a second. Finding groceries in the store takes about an hour. Grocery shopping, especially online, is great because you can just hit reorder every week. This is gonna keep you from going down every aisle, looking at all the sweet stuff, being tempted by Pop-Tarts, and you can just stay absolutely dialed on your goals. If you go to the grocery store hungry, we've all been there, we all know you're leaving with some motherfucking ice cream, which does not support our long-term goals. You're gonna block in your calendar a time where you're kind of full, and you're gonna just reorder your groceries, which will allow you to have time to meal prep, which will set up systems for success. The third thing that will really help you is to get a coach. Right now in my life, I actually have 6 coaches because I'm a firm believer in paying people who know more than me about something to teach me so that I can have that information faster and also to hold me accountable along the way. When I was training in the Navy for my bodybuilding show, you best believe I was not intrinsically motivated to go to the gym after a really long day at work and do a lift and then do 40 minutes of cardio while barely eating anything, right? But I had a coach who gave me a plan. And so it took the decision space out. I no longer had to struggle with the decision. What do I do? Will I do this? Will I not do this? Because all I had to do was look at it and execute. A lot of people think doing things is hard. I would argue nothing is actually really that hard. However, fighting with yourself internally about whether or not you're gonna do it, that is what's hard. But if you have someone who's telling you, this is the plan, go execute the plan, and then at the end of the week, they kind of beat your ass if you don't do the plan, that's incredible. That's very helpful. And this is the thing, and you can apply this to every aspect of your life. In life, you're gonna pay for something with one of two things. It's gonna be money or it's gonna be time. You can always make more money. You can never get your time back. So I'm a big believer in paying people money to get the results that I want faster because time is my most valuable asset. Cannot create more of it. In doing this, I also learned that you don't know what you don't know. And while you think that you may be very competent or that, the internet's got your back, the best thing that you could do is learn from other people's mistakes and successes rather than trying to do that all yourself. People have been there before. You can get there faster. In having a coach, right, to get abs, I was on a nutrition plan. With that nutrition plan, I was really struggling with that decision space when I had Nutella in the house, okay? Love you, Nutella. You cannot go to bed hungry while you're thinking about the Cocoa Krispies in your fridge. I know if you're on a diet, if you're in a deficit, and you're feeling mildly uncomfortable and you're tired, willpower is a limited resource, actually. If you didn't know that, the amount of decisions you make in a day, at the end of those decisions, at the end of your day, you run out of willpower. So what we're gonna do is set up systems so that even if we're our worst selves, tired, hungry, grumpy little monsters, we will not fail. And sometimes that requires you to throw some bad food out of the house. And you're like, no, my kids and my husband, they eat this. Listen, if you care about your family, care about their health, because whiny little kids versus obese, overweight little kids, like I'll take a whiner any day of the week because you can fix that. You can't fix someone's cardiovascular health later down the line, but what you can do is be the parent, be the boss, and set boundaries for yourself and the people that you care about because you care about them enough to say no. Trash is trash. It belongs in the garbage, not near you. A hack I found to not negotiate yourself out of going to the gym was I would always keep a gym fit and pre-workout in the car. And I would just go straight to the gym after work. I didn't give myself the option to go or not go. On days where I felt the worst, I would always go to the gym and I would gaslight myself. I was like, oh, I feel really bad, but I'll just go walk on the treadmill. Then I would walk on the treadmill and I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I'll just do one set of squats, just do one, then I'll leave. I would just say this to myself. I would lie to myself the whole time. Then I would end up doing a full workout. Works like a charm. On one of my worst days ever, I literally benched 300 pounds that day. I was like, I wasn't even gonna go. I felt so bad. You can do way more than you think you can when you don't feel like it, if you just do it anyways. This brings me to my fourth habit. Walk little, walk often. No one is excited about doing 60 minutes on a treadmill after work, okay? We are gonna add in micro walks throughout the day, starting with getting off your ass at work and doing a 5-minute lap every hour. You're like, Katie, I'm so locked in. Scientific studies show that this improves cognitive ability, it improves your work ethic, it improves your performance. So go get off your ass, take a lap, and enjoy moving your legs. If you take a micro walk after lunch, you are going to mitigate fat storage and improve digestion, which is gonna help overall. I like to take a 15-minute walk after I eat. Super awesome. Adds more steps throughout the day. Doesn't feel overwhelming. Next, you're gonna park as far as you can all the time. What? I want a good parking spot. Girl, a good parking spot gives you nice ass legs that you feel excited to show off, all right? We are gonna park as far as is really feasible unless you're wearing super high heels, and even then, work those calves, girl. This is gonna add so many steps to your day in a way that really does not feel like you are going on a long ass walk. Also, learn to take the stairs and appreciate it. It's like a mini cardio session that you no longer have to do later. The stairs is such an underrated daily health hack. You do not need to be on the Stairmasters looking at a screen for 45 minutes. If you want to look fit, you gotta be fit. If you want to be fit, you have to do fit person things. And taking the stairs is definitely a fit person thing. Another micro walk you can add in is a 10-minute walk before you start your workout. I always just like to use this as a warm-up, but it's a great way to add consistent extra steps in. And it's almost like a habit trigger where you can kind of get your mind right so that you can execute your workout with intensity. Finally, you're gonna wanna get the rest of your steps before dinner. After dinner, girl, I know you're gonna chill, take a lap or two around the block, and then settle in and relax for the night. Don't relax and then expect yourself to get the steps. This is the worst way to set yourself up for success. Bringing me to the fifth habit, which was that I was a pair of scissors, not a pillow. Being nice is not enough. If you wanna get to where you wanna go, you need to cut people out of your life like it's your job. Because people, though nice, are not always bringing you closer to your goals, and you are who you surround yourself with. If you don't have anyone in your life and you feel lonely, so you're accepting people who aren't really driven, aren't really like you, aren't pursuing big things, don't give a shit about their health. Don't be a soft place for those people to land, okay? You need to be lethal with your energy and your execution. And it's lonely, but being lonely for a time will result in higher quality people coming into your life. And I say quality because the way you need to measure your relationships is not just who that person is, but what they do for you. And that sounds a little transactional, right? But if you have limited time on this earth and you have limited energy to give people, why would you not want every single person in your life to be an asset to you and your dreams? You should be an asset to them and their dreams as well. For me, being nice is not enough because that does not bring me closer to my goals and to my dreams. And when you're really intentional about who you spend time with, you accelerate the results of getting what you want so much faster. You are better than dealing with people who the only thing they have to offer you is that they're nice. You have a choice of who you spend time with. And what you need to ask yourself every time you choose to spend that precious, precious life force with someone is, does being with this person make it more likely or less likely that I'm going to achieve my goals? And usually the answer is pretty fucking obvious. And it's difficult, it's painful sometimes to uninvite those people or really just uninvite yourself from those experiences. I had a friend and she was the kindest, nicest person in the world. I loved her. I love her still. Unfortunately, for the longest time, I was really trying to turn her into something that she was not because I saw her potential. But what I really saw was what I would do in that situation, which was my potential, not necessarily hers. And unfortunately, she continued to make decisions that did not align with the trajectory that I was on. And I realized that when I spend time with her, I become less likely to achieve my goals because she is not doing the kinds of things that I need to be doing in order to achieve the success that I want to have. There was no fight, there was no tiff. It was just slowly over time, I intentionally stopped spending time with her because I knew I needed to invest that time in myself and with other people who were accelerating me towards where I wanted to go and towards who I wanted to be. And that may seem harsh, but honestly, if you want to achieve big things, you have to be able to not just do anything that it takes, but everything that it takes. Emotionally, physically, at work. Like every person should have a purpose in your life and they should elevate you in some way. Otherwise, you're out here doing charity. And there's a time and place for that, but it's not in friendships. This leads me to the sixth habit, which is that I literally created a new identity. I used to be a chonker, okay? I was a power lifter. I would always eat as much as I can at every single meal. I walked around with pretty masculine energy. I just never felt like cute, lithe, fit, elegant, so I didn't act like that. And as I grew older and I wanted something different, it occurred to me that I needed to think about myself in a different way in order to start executing my life in a different way. This was a pretty tangible shift that I made mentally that resulted in fat loss so quickly. I used to identify as a bulky, strong girl. I used to identify as this little baby rhino of a person. I wanted to be a bad bitch. So what I started to do was think about myself. I am a hottie Pilates body type bitch. Now, I'm not trying to be that fucking small, all right? I worked hard for this muscle, I love it. But it changed the way that I approached eating food in public. Rather than eating, 2 burgers, I would opt for a salad with salmon because that's what, in my mind, hot Pilates bitches did, right? Over time, this resulted in me eating less because when I think of elegance, when I think of delicate, I think of fueling your body because it deserves food, not shoving it down tastelessly because we're bulking all the time. Your identity is a chain. Be, do, have. Most people start with what they want to have. They want to have the body. They want to have the money. They want to have the big life. But what you need to start with is who do you need to be? And then what do you need to do to be that person? And then the things that you have as the byproduct of doing will come inevitably. I think of identity as a box or a package that you put yourself into. And so if you want to change what you have, you need to change the box that you identify and you put yourself in. This is the best and the biggest thing that I do for my clients, because for women who have been overweight for their whole life, they identify as a fat person. But every single day, we shift that narrative very intentionally by doing mental health exercises and mental mental health work so that they can identify as a fit, strong, and disciplined person, so that then they start to act like a fit, strong, disciplined person, and then their body changes so much faster than if I just told them, you got to do this workout, you got to eat this food. Blank people do blank people things. So overweight people do overweight people things. Fit people do fit people things. Poor people do poor people things. Rich people do rich people things. You will never get a result without doing the things required to get that result. So if you're wondering, I don't understand, I don't know why I don't have these things, I don't know why it's not working, it's because you are not the type of person that will get you the things that you want. Which brings me to the 7th habit, the most important one: throw perfectionism in the trash. I did not set the American bench record, win nationals, go to worlds, or win my first bodybuilding show because I nailed every single workout. I hit every single macro. I always strive to be perfect, but I never use perfection as an excuse to not go do something. I had a client who was not completing her workouts, and when I talked to her about it, I was like, yo, what's going on? She's like, well, I didn't have time to do my full workout. And I was like, how much time did you have? And she said, I had 45 minutes. I was like, girl, your workout is an hour long. And I was like, why would you sacrifice what you could have done because you couldn't get that last 15 minutes? Once you start to understand that doing something is always better than doing nothing, kind of ingraining into your mind, like, I can go suck, I can go half-ass this, but I cannot skip. That is game changing. I never skip. Even when I'm really sick and I feel like shit, I'll just go suck. I do not care. But I'm not gonna skip. And that is a champion mindset. You show up to a meeting, you're feeling sick as fuck. Guess what? You showed up, because the reality is you're never gonna feel your best. The amount of times you're gonna feel really good, very low. I set the American bench record with the flu. I vomited the entire way to Ohio. I was in the back, laying down, dying. And if you look at photos from the event, you can see that my neck area is super wet because my teammates were actually icing me down in the back because my fever was so high. Now, was that selfish to do? Yeah, it was. Sorry to everyone else. But guess what, motherfucker? I trained for years for that. I was going and I was gonna fucking compete, and then I won. All because I wasn't a little bitch and I went out there and did what I could with what I had. And if you can adopt this mindset, I'm gonna go do what I can with what I have, and you can leave perfection in the trash because it does not exist. You will be so much closer to perfect. Good is the enemy of excellence, right? If you never be satisfied with being good, you don't have to be satisfied with doing a half-assed job. However, the more consistent you are over time is what will drive results that you want to see, both in your body, in your physique, in your business, in your life. Success can be boiled down to doing the right behaviors to achieve an outcome. Not being perfect, just doing the behaviors that are enough to elicit the outcome that you desire. Because perfection only lives in your mind, outcomes are real. So these 7 habits are incredibly important, but if you don't actually know the behaviors that you need to execute to lose fat, you'll never be lean. So watch this video next where I talk about exactly how to lose a pound of fat a week for 25 weeks.